Okay, we're going to move on to the next, the second of the 4 talks exploring this idea as just another member of the band. The next speaker is Parry Malm. He's CEO of Phrasee, a company that empowers global brands with AI-powered copywriting. He's over 15 years' experience working with countless brands to optimize marketing results, and he combines this expertise with an extensive background in computer science, statistics, and commercialising artificial intelligence. Please join me in welcoming Parry to the stage.
Hi. Good start. Oh, one too many clicks. Very sensitive clicker. That's good. My name is Parry Malm. I'm the CEO of a company called Phrasee. Phrasee is AI that writes better than you and you. And definitely you. Doesn't make you bad people. It just means that you're just not as good at copywriting as our machine is. So here's our big highfalutin statement. The big idea is this. People have been applying advanced technology all over marketing for as long as people have been around. As long as we've been trying to sell shit to people, we've been using technology to sell more shit to more people, right? Now, the thing is, it was always viewed that the copy we used in advertising campaigns was uniquely human, and that it would be impossible to apply advanced technology within that domain, because there's something so incredibly complex about the human experience that a machine could never mimic it. Cool. So some people have said that we're pretty awesome, which is kind of nice. We win awards and stuff. Gartner, the industry analyst, named us a cool vendor in 2018. It's the coolest I've been since about a week when I was 14. I was the first kid in my school to get Reebok pumps. You remember those Reebok pumps? And I was super cool, right? Until the neighborhood bully Mike Wills pinned me down and pumped them until they burst. But it's fine, he's in prison now, so I think I probably won. Actually, I'm not kidding, he killed a man, so it's not really that funny when you think about it. Awesome. So you've actually experienced our AI in action without knowing it. If you get emails, if you're served Facebook ads, if you get SMSs, push messages from these brands and countless more around the world, then you've actually experienced our AI, which has become completely invisible. What you thought was human is not. And that's the real power, where it doesn't matter if a human wrote it or if a machine wrote it. The power is that it works better. And I think this whole existential concern that people have going, oh, machines are going to come take our jobs and all this and kind of stuff, just shows that you're really not very creative in the first place. Imagine if a designer said, I'm never going to use Photoshop again because it's going to come and take my job. Well, that's clearly not a very creative person who hasn't really moved on with the times. Anyways, I shan't rant anymore. So I'm going to ask you guys to take a test. So get out your phones. I assume that you have phones, right? Yes, cool. Not all at once, please, all at once. Now, go to sly.do and then put in #Phrasee. What you're gonna see is 10 subject lines, which I know is really exciting. And all 10 of these were sent out by Virgin Holidays, who've been a customer of ours for over 4 years now. Some of you may have actually gotten these. Now, what I'm gonna ask you to do is guess or predict which one you think had the highest performance metrics. I'm going to show you the actual results in a minute, but do your very best. Now, one of these lines was written by a human. 9 of them were written by Phrasee's AI, which is pretty cool. It doesn't really matter which. I bet you can't tell. You won't be able to tell, don't worry. But while you're picking the one that you think performed the strongest, I'm going to tell you the cognitive process that your brain is undertaking right now. So first of all, in writing these lines and reading them from the actual linguistic standpoint, your brain is actually considering the syntax, the phonology and phonetics, the morphology, and the semantics and pragmatics. I won't go into detail about what all these things are, but these are the various linguistic nuances that make language so complicated and complex. So your brain is already processing all of this stuff. When you read something and you interpret it, you consider, all of these different elements. But that's not enough by itself, is it? What your brain is also doing is this. You're actually suffering from the 7 deadly cognitive biases of copywriting. I won't go through what all of these are because there's too many. I forgot what half of them are because I've got a bias of a very, very bad short-term memory. But the fact is, when you look at a piece of copy, as you're all doing, what you're doing is you're applying heuristics, these rules that your brain has made unconsciously to deal with the world at large. Imagine if we didn't have ways to deal with the world at large, where everything was new all the time. It would be overwhelming. The brain couldn't handle it. So what we do to cope with the world is we create these heuristics, but embedded in these heuristics are biases. Now, these biases aren't necessarily bad. For example, I've got a bias against being stabbed, right? Now, I've never been stabbed, but from what I've heard, it is not terribly pleasant. So I've got a real strong heuristic in my brain that's got this bias where I do not want you to put a knife into my body. We all have things like this, from quite sort of acute examples like that to very minuscule examples where, I've got a cognitive bias where I don't really like gravy. I know it's a weird thing to not like. I just don't like gravy. So I've got this whole bias built up. But when you're dealing with language, we've all been exposed to countless advertisements throughout our lives. We've all written subject lines for email. Some of you may have written subject lines that get sent out to millions of people, like our customers. And what you're doing is you're injecting a huge amount of cognitive bias into that process. So let's see, I can't remember what my next slide is, but I don't want to click it in case it's the one that I think it might be. I believe that this is called Schrodinger's presentation. Buddy, could we switch to the poll results, please? Let's see these little poll results. Let's see how excellent you all are at predicting these results. Sweet. Right, so you're alcoholics. Very good. It's funny, I've done this test a few times. I was doing it in New York a couple of weeks ago, and the Americans picked a totally different one. I did this presentation to about 400 people in London, 2 weeks ago or three, or something like that. And they picked the one that's second from the bottom. And then I come to Scotland and yeah. It's cool. Can we get the slides back up there, big dude? Thank you. Cool. So what those numbers showed is, 30% of people had picked a winner, but the vast majority was spread across everything else. Now, the thing is, I could make a compelling case as to why any one of those lines is better than any other one. And I could convince you of that case. And this is what happens when people are dealing with advertising copy right now. They'll have meetings, and people will give their opinions, and they'll say, well, I think this is best. Another person will say, I think this is best. And the person who has the most persuasive argument is the one who will have their copy sent out into the wild. But what if it's not the best copy? Now, this is a thing that humans are not very good at because we have all of these biases. But if you break language down into its core linguistic components, and you have a whole bunch of data on how it performs in the wild, and you can actually train a machine to be much more effective at predicting what language will incite action. That's exactly what we've done. I could have clicked earlier. Just don't worry. Everything has gone fine. So we've all seen the results. That's cool. So the one that actually won was A Taste of the Caribbean. Did somebody say cocktails finished 8th? So 31% of you are terrible at this game. The human line was number 5, in case you were wondering. The rest of them were all written by a machine. And the actual impact that it had on Virgin Holidays was 13% more people. If you obviously extrapolate that across the millions and millions of people who get emails from them, they make a bunch of money, which is cool. It's pretty simple though. Previously, the way the world worked was this, is you would have paisley shirt wearing, horn-rimmed glasses, pointy-toed shoes guys in Golden Square or Madison Avenue with their feet up on the desk, charging you lots of money, telling you what they think. But the days of Don Draper dictating your discourse are done. The marketers of the future understand the language effect. They understand that language is complex. and they understand how to use that to their advantage. Thanks. Do I go now? Cool.